Hey there. Good evening, good evening. Give me a quick second for some technical setups here, and then we'll be good to go. Yeah, this is exactly what we need. This is exactly what we need. This is exactly what we need. There we go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another evening of the African Speaks. Yes, let me turn myself down in my ear. I don't need to hear myself speak. I needed to hear the video come on, but I didn't need to hear me talk, right? And make sure I'm in line with the camera so that you know what I mean. I'm in focus. Yes, happy holidays while I'm in focus. Can you see me? Am I in focus? Yeah. This is another evening of the Rise of the African Speaks. We've been talking about this. This is going to be our focus for a good minute because this is our purpose. This is our cause. This is our mission, right? To make sure that the African that is in you rise. Right, so this is a social media Pan-African movement where we are trying to bring about the gathering of a Pan-African mindset. Those individuals who believe that we are a people, we should be a people, we should live as a people, we should build as a people, we should think as a people, we should give praise as a people. We just because we are African people, and what better way to enjoy the holidays is in the knowing. Wow, and we're gonna talk about the knowing. You know, there were days before the days of believing, which is what we're in. Do you believe this? There was the days of the knowing. And that is the African experience where they knew who they were in God. It's just a knowing. They didn't need a scripture. They didn't need a book. They didn't need somebody to tell it to them. They were so in tuned with God's power and God's presence. It was in the knowing. So we are days away from our holiday, Christmas holiday and Kwanzaa. We got the New Year's, then behind that is lit. Days away. I'm hoping you are being able to pull something out of this season experience. I literally walked into my experience last Sunday. If y'all missed Akiba Land Sunday service last week, y'all truly missed something to see. If you can go back and check it out, man, I had so many telephone calls on that one, and it was like, brother, you was in the zone, and it was pure powerful. So please, go check it out. This particular holiday season, it doesn't matter whether or not you are Afrocentric and you're African centered, and Christianity may not be your focus, but that's okay because I hear a lot of Hindus saying happy holiday, happy holiday. Why? Because they're giving respect to somebody else's faith. Whether you believe it or not, there is still only one God. How we define it is something different. But what you can do is change the way you view the holiday. What can you get from it? You can get a lot of relationships, a lot of connection, a lot of love, a lot of great experiences. You can enjoy your family, community. There's a whole lot you can get out of this season, right? Understanding that Christianity is the infant religion of an ancient wisdom, and so it is a part of it has the beginnings in it. We just got to help individuals get back to it. And if you're watching Akiba Land Inspirational Sunday, that's what we do. All right. But before we continue, we want to please make sure those who are watching us on Facebook like, comment, share. Yes, this is how we get out to a greater community. This is how we're going to have the African rise, has the community to come together, have us be who God has called us to be, really producing in life what God has called us to produce in life while we're living. Nobody's waiting for the hereafter. Yeah. Can I get an amen to that? Can I get an ashe to that? Let's go. And so now, also, if you're watching us via YouTube, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification, because we have a lot of programming that pops up. All right, so we are now 5 times a week. We're producing content. We're going to be produce. I'm praying that I can get to the point where we're producing so much more content, and so we're going to take a look at that as we continue. But we want to make sure you always be on the lookout for our future program. And of course, we have a Keebaland Inspirational Sunday at noon on tonight. Tuesday nights at 7. You have DaAfrican Speaks. Thursday night, 6:30, 7 o'clock. You have After Stream. This is the topics and news from the diaspora. Then at Saturday, we will be taking off this Saturday. This Saturday is a holiday, so y'all might see me on the net gaming. You know, pulling out the stops for the Garvey games. We're gonna work on that. We definitely still working on that part. But we got the African history class and African spirituality class, so there may be a break because it is a holiday season, and people will be enjoying their families, and very few people will be looking for the stream. At least I don't think so. But we'll see. I know my daughter has a lot of things planned, so we may be taking that day off. Also, at any given time, if you have the time, please, and I had an individual ask us about our website, please join our website. Take a look at it. What's happening to the website? It's not popping up. Okay, there's something wrong with this because the website works. So I got to fix that inside my show. So I got to be able to pull it up. Now, there we go. It just took a while. The show was taking a while to pull the feature. So when you get a chance, come out here to the world of Akibaland and take a look at what we are designing, creating, and developing as a community, right, for World of Akibaland. It's a beautiful thing. And if you move to donate, just scroll on down and you'll see the donate button and donate. We have a lot of growth that's coming next year, and I want you to be a part of it. Support the development of our youth, yes, and our mindsets, our parenting. We're going to move World of Akibaland not only to a youth development program, but a black parenting reference. All right, that's another thing that I had in my hip pocket, right, where black parents and black families can come together and get these topics, these conversations, assist with the homeschooling, everything. We're going to try to work it all out. We got some movement coming next year, and I want y'all to be ready for it because this thing is we're going to do what it do. We're going to make it do what it do. Amen. So we've been talking about that clip that I posted from the Amistad, right? And when I'm trying to tell you, it's been giving me a lot of things to talk about. And so what hit me this evening was, because at the end, and I spoke on it, and if you haven't seen it, please go back and take a look. We're not going to play it tonight because there's so much to discuss tonight. So we were talking about at the end of it, and I was saying where I got this phrase from, and somebody told me where my Fundio Labayo got the phrase, which is Pearl Klieg, which is my pastor's daughter, right? Jemoji Abebe Ajiman, Reverend Albert B. Klieg. They said they believe that she wrote it in her book about Miles, right? And Miles Davis. And so the statement is, we need Africans who are not afraid to take over a slave ship and lead us back to Africa, or row us back to Africa. Either way, take us home. And so the conversation began in the head and with the ancestors. When I tell you I'll go to sleep and I'm in deep conversations. Literally, this happened last night. I'm sitting there, and I'm not sitting there, I'm asleep. But I'm sitting around a multitude of our ancestors, and we're discussing the topic to come for the day. So if y'all, this happened today. I woke up and said, boom, I know what I'm doing. That's why the graphics don't come before. This happened today. And so when they spoke, I sat down and said, I was told that I hear the ancestors, and I knew that growing up, right? I had the hands. I had everything I needed to make it through the jungle. Woo. Yeah, I remember those days. One love, New York. Um, and I was told in a divination that said, brother, you hear the ancestors and you live in the knowing. You've been living in the knowing most your life. So when they speak to you, what you have to learn how to do is respond as soon as they speak to you. And I said, okay. So when I woke up this morning, it hit me, the rise of the African. What does it look like in today's world? And I went to town. I was thinking about it, and said, this is what we want you to discuss and how we want you to discuss it. And so that is the topic of today. Rise of the African. What does it look like in today's world? Because we seen Birth of a Nation. Again, we watched the clip Armor Star where they took over the slave ship, and there was 400 revolts like that. They don't want you to know that we revolted. They would like for you to believe that we came willingly. No, none of us did that. None of us did that. Right? And that's crazy. However, in that space, the rise of the African, there was an African coming out of Jamaica who had this concept. When he said, "I traveled the world," and I should have put some of his echoed speeches. You know what? We're gonna save a night where we really pay homage to the saint Marcus Garvey. And so Marcus Garvey made a statement: Africa for the Africans, at home and abroad. Africa for the Africans, at home and abroad. Now we can, and that's the part, at home and abroad, that I want to sit down and dissect, because I can't tell you what he meant by at home and abroad, because he was in America, right? And that was his home, but he was in America. But when you say Africa for the Africans, at home and abroad, what he understood, I'll sit down and I'll go deeper. He understood the level of the colonized mindset. He understood that it wasn't just the Americans, the American Africans, because we weren't even African Americans yet. We were more American than we were African. And so he was making a statement of saying, we're all over the place. Home is wherever you are. Abroad, he knew that Africa was not free. They were colonized. He said everybody needs to have a foundation of where they begin. Everybody needs to have a foundation of where they begin, where they as a people begin. So you sit down and you talk to an Italian American, and I've been in New York. I live in New York, man. That culture, that heritage that they connect, you can't beat it. Russian American, that culture that they have, that unity that they have as a community, you can't beat it. Jewish American, man, let's not talk about the Jewish community. You can't beat it. You feel me? And so being able to have that experience is something, and I'm gonna make sure this goes on mute. Being able to have that experience, you got to be able to do that. You got to be able to do that. And so when I looked at it, I said, you know what? A lot of people, when you're talking to African Americans or American Africans, and you talk about Africa for the Africans, they will go crazy. I ain't going nowhere. I don't know nothing about no Africa. They give you all types of reasons of disconnection. They give you everything that you can think of when it comes to disconnection. And I'm like, okay, brother, that's not what we're discussing right now. What we're discussing is your mindset. Because if you take a look at just the top 20 locations in the country that have the of the African diaspora, we're going to take a look at how we look around the world. Look at this. So at how we look around the world, Brazil, 82 million Africans. of the diaspora. United States, 46 million of the Africans in there. Haiti, Haiti has 11 million Africans. Now you have Mexico, 6 million. And you can go down the line. You can go down the line. Look at how many Africans are displaced only in the top 20 countries around the world. Look at how many are displaced. And that's real. You look at that, you like, wow. So when you look at those numbers, you automatically know Africa does not have the infrastructure for that level of increased population. Africa does not have the infrastructure for that level of increased population. Ayan, close the door. Now, in that space, we say, well, we can't go that. Not only, the infrastructure, they can't hold it, regardless how many cities, how many places is there. It can't happen. Not at this particular point. And so, and then, like they say, most of us will not take the trip. So it's not an issue of the physical leaving. Those who want to go, go. Because Africa is calling some of us back to help build up the different countries on the continent so that we can compete for global power. Think about that. Compete for global power. We have the whole continent who are still mostly colonized and have the influence of Europeans not competing for global power. But they're trying to figure it out, how to compete for global power. But that's not us. Now, we're in a different world today. A completely different world where it doesn't take you physically being in a country to have to connect to somebody. The way technology is built, the way the world is webbed together. Some of us may not have to leave our multitude of locations. However, Jews send money back to Israel. People from China, Japan take care of their families, sending money back and forth and goods. Even some people off the continent traveling, going back and forth. That happens. Sending goods, resources, and everything. It happens. You have people who send their kids to multiple places to get education. Trinidad, I know, sends their kids to American schools to get educated. Then they have them come back to work for the government. They said the government will pay for your entire education, but you have to come back and work for your government. Isn't that something? Right. Try to stay in focus. So the world is built different. So the Africa for the Africans is not necessarily a geological place. Right? It's not necessarily or an immediate a geological movement. Even though you have Ghana and some other places telling everybody it's okay and it's almost time for us to come home. That's a beautiful thing, but we got to make sure that they're not colonialized. We got to make sure that there is no corruption in the government. We got to make sure that we truly have levels of self-determination, and the only way to do that is to do exactly what they're doing over there, over here. Yes, being able to have that team or of connection. So looking at the diaspora as a move, it's a mental issue. It's definitely a more of a mental issue. And then at that point where we are dealing with ourselves, because I know that colonialism still exists on the continent. I know when they talk about and they're arguing about being self-determined. That's going to come up in a few minutes. I know that all. I know why, because it takes a process. Woo, to get that man out your that colonialism or that slave, the mark of slavery out your mind. And so Africa, for the Africans, it's an eternal fight first. We used this last week, and I hope y'all watched it last week. It's a definitely an eternal fight. You know, when you have songs of multitude of songs in our past talking about, from Bob Marley, none but ourselves can free our minds. This is where it happens. It's our minds and our spirits that has to change first. Even in our history of slavery, Harriet Tubman said, "I would have freed more people if they knew they were slaves." And so now that we live in this state of freedoms, we live in this place of freedoms where they're giving us, we've had more freedoms. However, systematic racism has not ended. So we are in. Last week we talked about living in a gray area. African Americans are deep in the gray area because we can't still tell that we slaves. We can't see that the only reason why they need us is for economic movement. And now during COVID, let's add COVID. This ain't even in here. Let's talk about COVID. Companies are realizing that they don't need a bunch of people to run a company. And so if they can move the country forward economically without all the employees of before, the ones up top can make more money. We don't realize what's going on. And they're trying to find a way to financially assist families without families losing that class, because what the internet is doing, the internet is breaking people out where they can connect and sell, and you can go straight to the consumer, and a lot of companies are losing money. I knew the game was changing when I had a class back in Morris Brown. I'm teaching computers in Morris Brown, and in that class there was a grandmother who was upset, and she was being educated. I was educating the community on computers, and they opened the class to everybody. And there was a grandmother who was upset that she didn't get a chance to mail her grandbaby's birthday card to them. I said, "Oh, we can fix that." She's like, "What do you mean we can fix it?" And if you remember when Morris Brown closed, this happened maybe a month or so plus before, but it was that same year. So that tells you how far back it was when I was teaching this class at Morris Brown. Yes, it was a tech class, and we're gonna start our tech class soon. I told you next year we're gonna blow up. Everybody blowing up. Everybody. We're gonna use this the way we ain't never used this before. Okay, everybody blowing up. But in that, I sat her down and showed her how to do an e-card. She said, "Wait a minute. So you mean I don't have to go to Hallmark and buy a card?" No, ma'am. So Hallmark doesn't get money, and wherever she went, CVS, Eckerd's back in the day, right? Could have been, no, it was Walmart. I don't know if Walmart was out back then. Maybe it was, right? Yeah, Walmart. We had Walmart. They weren't allowed inside the city. And so when she went and I showed her how to send an e-card where the kid would get it on that day with the music and everything, we knew then that the world was changing. I sat down and said, "Wait a minute, the post office is going to take an economic hit with this." And a lot of companies took a lot of hit when the internet blew up. And then people wanted to figure out, how do you financially grow with that? And so even that became a cloud for us to make us realize that we don't know where we at. We still sit in the gray area. Because now we on TikToking, you know what I'm saying? We Snapchatted, we did everything. Me and my daughter's supposed to do a TikTok for the holidays, right? And so we're in this gray area with these freedoms and not realizing we are still slaves in our own minds and our own spirits. So one of the first things that has to happen on top of the process of freeing your mind is a freedom inside your spirit. A level of enlightenment has to befall us. Yes, 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 yes. Now, we talk about the holidays and we talk about Christianity, and I'm saying you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. You don't get rid of Christianity. Christianity is a infant of ancient African wisdom. It is one of the youngest, along with Judaism, along with and Islam. Those last three. An infant. They all are infant of ancient African wisdom. So how you go about using that system of faith. Now people talk about, oh, religion. No, Africans have religion forever. Forever. And if there are 42 different cultures, and I hope y'all tuned in to African spirituality and African history, but African spirituality will tell you on Saturdays 2 o'clock. You're gonna miss it because we're not here this weekend. Gives me enough time to build up that next class, right? Because Saturday is a holiday season. But 4,200 tribes, you'll have 4,200 views of spirituality, 4,200 processes, where the spiritual process of a people benefited their daily encounters and their daily interactions. It was modified according to their exchange of everyday life. But we need that level of enlightenment to break the binds or holds of false indoctrination. We have to let it go. And we said, if you watch the previous versions of the African Speaks, we talked about liberation having a vibration. And we talked about being able to get yourself to, and if y'all missed last Sunday when we talked about the spiritual energy of the atom. Woo! Spirituality, black consciousness has a vibration. So there first needs to be a spiritual awareness. Any education, the first education of anything has to be an education under God. Period. I don't care how educated you are academically. I don't care how many books you read. If you do not have an education unto the Creator first, in reference to how you are connected, related, and how you're related to your people, and how you're related to everybody, if that does not come first, everything else is no good. It's tainted. So there has to be that level of enlightenment, that level of culture, that level of the information and wisdom. You have to, because in that space, wait, let me see if I got this picture available. Let me see if I can pop this up. Right here. In that space, we vibrate at a whole different frequency. When you are in tuned, we are energy beings that vibrate at that can vibrate at a high frequency, where we develop a God consciousness. And in that God consciousness, we get that experience of discernment. We get that experience of sight. That melanin starts to vibrate with the universe. Woo! And we do things that we've never done before. We do things that we've never done before. And that's important, to actually access that higher level of consciousness. That's what when you start talking about Africa for the Africans, you have to get back into that ancient wisdom that is ours. That ancient wisdom that they blessed the entire world with. The ancient wisdom that birthed mathematics, science, the arts, everything. Everything. Philosophy. Astronomy, everything, medicine, and they said let your food be your diet, and somebody changed it, said let your food be your diet before, let your food be your medicine before your medicine become your food. My medicine ain't gonna be, well, you have to take medication in your body just to live. Woo. We need that level of enlightenment, and that where we understand that what our temples can do before we can. Africa for the Africans, Let's tap into that ancient wisdom, and then let's recorrect some things. Now, one of the things that we talk about, because you can't move forward with your slave master's religion. We can't. You can't move forward with your oppressor's religion. It doesn't make any sense. He didn't give you what you needed to be self-determined. He gave you what you needed so you could be subservient to him. When people ask, why can't black folk come together? It's because of that mark of slavery where he took us apart. It don't matter whether or not we come together or not. We're not going to achieve nothing. That is your oppressor's, his indoctrination on how you see yourself in God. We have to let all of that go. All of that go. And we have to be able to embrace the practices of ancient African wisdoms and technologies and processes and rituals and ceremonies. Pull them into our Christian experience. We ain't telling you to walk away from it. We're telling you to figure out how to bridge. Now, I could say the Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church is the place that I've chosen. It got me here. And we learn every day and every year, 68 years of service, more and more how to infuse the knowledge of that ancient wisdom. Because once that happens, once we get there, we look different. No, of course, this is ad lib. This is ad lib. We won't look like that. However, we walk with our glow. We walk in a sense of enlightenment, a sense of sightfulness, a sense of the knowing. It's a special way that we a being that you become. That sense of awareness. You ever walked in a room and people could tell that you vibrated on a different frequency? If not, I wish that on you. I know how many times I hit a building and I walk in somewhere and it had a turn. And the first time I started realizing, I was going somewhere and I walked and I realized that every time I passed somebody, without me saying the word, it was, and I could hear it. I said, that's the God in me coming out. And I knew it. And I said, let me go even deeper within myself to see how much more can that come out. And even in the experience of COVID, I went in even deeper. Why? Because they're separating us physically. We get empowered when we come together. Man, they separate us and they're keeping us out of the sun by keeping us locked in. Ain't that something? Who generates power from the sun but the melanated? We're sun-kissed. We need that. So with that being said, I said that and said I had to amp up and learn how to deliver the technologies. And then when it hit me what my call was, what to do to be and create with this technology, yeah, I'm walking different. And I'm trying to get everybody else to walk different, because I can't change the world by myself. My church can't change the world by ourselves as a group. We need Africa for the Africans. Woo! Is what we need. And at that moment of enlightenment, then we will be able to talk about our black reality. Let's go. We'll be able to talk about our black reality. We'll be able to sit down, and it doesn't matter whether we're dealing with the Africans in wait, let me drop this, because this is going to be beautiful. We can then discuss our black reality once we have that education into God, and we have and I had that conversation with a friend of mine the other day about a spiritual reformation. The same way they created Catholicism from Judaism, and then they had the Protestant Reformation and created Protestant religion from Catholicism. There has never been another Reformation. And so I knew I couldn't join no church. When I studied this in college, the Reformation, I said, well, shoot, all churches are bad because there ain't been another Reformation. You protesting Catholics, but you ain't reformed the faith, where the historical view is coming from an Afrocentric perspective. So that is still something. And then when I came across the Shrines of the Black Madonna, Pan-African Orthodox Christian Church, I said, whoa, wake me up. And they woke me up. They did more than that. They manned me up. Love it. But when you come across that, we are able to face our black reality, and it's not gonna matter where we existed. With a spiritual awareness of who we are in God, we're able to face the black reality regardless of where you're located in the diaspora. Because you don't see yourself from your area. Yeah, you could be Brazilian, but guess what? You're an African Brazilian. You're an African Haitian. You're an African Mexican. You're African Colombian. You're an African Frenchman. Your African comes first. And we're able to discuss your black reality. And that black reality is we don't control a thing. And so once we start dealing with the issue of black reality, then we can start dealing with the terms and the theories of self-determination. Because we talk about self-determination without any growth. We need to come together as a black people. We need. However, we do that and we don't. There is no dialogue about how do you see yourself spiritually in God. Because you can't get to this point. I can't even get my hand up there. You can't get to that right there, up there. Yeah, how to do that? That way. Yeah, you can't get to self-determination, SDT, without a spiritual awareness, knowing that God has called you. When you believe that, and that's the thing about African spirituality, why everything about African life is divine. There is nothing that, man, go back and see what we talked about at Akiba Land Inspirational Sunday. That was been the most powerful one I've had since COVID. We had some powerful other scenarios where we were doing some stuff live, and everybody in the room was crying. Adults and kids, everybody was. There was not a dry eye, and I remember the moment. But here, self-determination, where we realize from our that being able to deal with our black reality, we need to be self-determined. We need to own and operate our things, which is competency. You know why we don't get any respect anywhere around the globe? Because we ain't competent at anything as black people, but not in their eyes. Even though we've built every nation where, whoa, let's see, let me show. We built every nation we're in. So what you mean competency? We got to realize we got to do it for ourselves. No colonialism, because even though we have there's certain countries that are in power that are still connected to Great Britain and colonized by the French and colonized by the Germans and colonized by, we got to be able to break those bonds and have a spiritual reformation to get to the point of enlightenment so that we can deal with our black reality, right? Towards self-determination. Competency, a people's need to gain mastery and control over their own lives and their environment. It's essential to wellness. When they talked about COVID and saying preconditioned situations, we all are in pre-existing issues and circumstances in our health because of the compromise of life we live in. Our bodies are always constricted. You know your body's constricted when you're driving down and you see the blue lights behind you when you're driving down the road and you don't know if they're going to pull you over or they're pulling somebody else over and your body completely tense up. Come on, man. Nobody should live like that. Then you got autonomy. People need to feel in control of their own lives, behaviors, and their goals. This is about the power of choice. We don't have that. We're not in control of our lives, our destination, and we want what we want. We sit down and say it don't matter what president is in office. It don't matter to the hood. It doesn't get to the immediate house. It takes a minute before that power trickles down. Me and my hand trickles down. We need to feel that. And relatedness. People need to have an experience of a sense of belonging, connecting it with other people. That mindset that we carry from colonialism and market slavery keeps us from connecting to each other. If you want to experience self-determination, you want to see what the Africa for the Africans look like, before we start on dealing with our black reality and defining it what it is, yeah, we need a spiritual enlightenment. Because as a self-determined people, we got to be able to control the basics. And that's just three things. Well, it's more than three things, but the true super three things. That's food, clothes, shelter. We talking about just living. Every being should be able to say, I can eat today. You know how many people were scared during COVID where they couldn't eat? So imagine if everything was done from a spiritual perspective where the relationship that we had in God was our first and foremost responsibility to do everything that God will call us to do. And if I got extra food in my house, then that means the person down the street, if they don't have it, they got it. And that's that give and take, and that's important. And so a lot of people in a lot of churches knew that it was the time to create these food banks. People got to eat. And if you ever been to those lines, I drove past one. Long. Very, very long. So what happens if we had supermarkets by the black nation of the multitude and we had infrastructure to get food from agricultural places to those places who just need it, textiles. And so that gives us, talking about self-determination, leads us to the understanding of infrastructure and institutional power. Now, I found a clip, and when I found this clip, I was looking at this and I said, wow, the net is the new underlining infrastructure for civilization itself. So highly technological for any location to function in modern society. You got to be highly technological. Now, when we talk about infrastructure and institutional power, I hope you were watching AfriStream, and when we discussed the things that is happening over in the continent, and in the multitude of countries over there, where they're building infrastructure, and everything is highly technological. Infrastructure. When you look at what Africa is doing and how they build these buildings, they're making sure that anything that they create architectural-wise, infrastructure, it is more attractive than anything that you see in westernized society. They're going out. They're not just building 4 walls. No, they building some fly 4 walls. They're making it super attractive to come. Beautiful to come. Infrastructure. So when you're dealing with transportation, you're dealing with irrigation, you're dealing with agriculture, you're dealing with manufacturing, everything. And so because we are, I always got to go back to that. Because we are here, which is everywhere, right? We're everywhere when it comes to this. We got to be able to communicate. And to be able to communicate, it takes nothing but infrastructure. Because without this, we're not growing anywhere. Without this, we're not going anywhere. And there are some groups who are black conscious, who believe in the liberation of black people, but they have no infrastructure. And the infrastructure they had is so outdated that it doesn't work in today's time. So when the way Garvey went out to reach people, to bring black people together, you can't use old technologies because they don't no longer appeal to the black mind or the black consciousness anymore. You got to reach people where they are. And a lot of people are existing in this high technological world. And without having a grasp on the high technological world, it's going to be hard to build the technology of people. Woo! Because that's a part of it. You can't build a civilization without people, and you can't connect the people without showing them that you have the infrastructure to create a better life. We need that. On all multiple levels. We got to be able to feed, clothe, and house ourselves, period. There's no way around that. Now, when you're dealing with that level of technology and the level of innovation, the level of communication, everything. You look at this. Look at this. 20 years ago, there was, well, they were trying to do it. I was trying to get my daughter to do it with me. She didn't want to. I wanted to embark on this long time ago, and I couldn't get anybody to really focus on it because they didn't see it coming. So after you have the spiritual enlightenment, you can focus on your black reality, and you realize you need infrastructure. You got to have educational reform. Has to. We got to realize that we were taught to be slaves. And we talk about entrepreneurship, that's fine. But if we're not building a nation within a nation, we're not building separate infrastructure within an infrastructure that fails us. We're not building a network within a network. We're not doing anything. So we need to have an education reform where a child is taught. It is taught Pan-Africanism from the beginning. A child is brought into the experience of God. That's why I said the first education is an education under God. You got to give that child the identity of who they are in God as a people first. It's like a whole generation. Can you imagine what would we create if we could have an academic, I'm about to drop this. What could we create if we could have an academic institution that brings God first from an African perspective and brings them the child every bit of the technology of the world they lived in for the sake of infrastructure building, connecting the diaspora together? What would that generation accomplish the world over? I had to do it. I had to say it. It's the world of Akibaland. That's the vision. It's always been the vision. It's a vision that developed in the Pan African Orthodox Christian Church. It's a vision that has been charged by me, and it's a vision that I take seriously. I take this seriously. We have to be able to create a generation of pure Pan-African leadership, not people who's willing. You got more millionaires now. Our kids are playing. They were just talking about the brother. Let's go, black reality. The football star who just signed to a HBCU. Now you're gonna have this dude come out of HBCU. We're gonna have another young black male in the millions in a matter of 3 years. Another young black male. Football. I don't even have the quota or the percentages of how many black players are in the football league. I bet you it's over 85% of the players in the NFL are black. So why aren't 85% of our neighborhoods getting better with those millionaires walking around the planet? Why? Because of the closed mindset. Because the education wasn't an education unto God first. Whew. They don't know who they are. They don't know what to do with their resources. All they're trying to do is live. But we need an educational institution where it's an educational reform. That if our children can have access to that, they know what to do with it. They know what, when, where, and how to build for black people. So their concepts of their imaginations that is given to them through their enlightenment can exist for eternity. Wow. World of Akibaland seeks to be one of the platforms that is used to get black people there. So join us. Visit the website. Help us build classrooms, classes, shows. Look at it. WOATV, World of Akibaland Television, where everything is, and we entertain too. Don't wait till the Marcus Garvey games show up and we video gaming everywhere. Woo! It's coming. Next year is going to be major. Now, when we have that and an educational reform, of course, educational reform will come. And it's multiple levels. And I can go on and because I can break down spirituality, enlightenment, reform. I can break down the views and images and how we see black reality. I could break down the different areas and levels of infrastructure that's needed to create an experience where black folk can feel competent. We can feel like we in control of our lives, and we can have a sense of connectedness, all that. And then come to this educational reform. Now, once all that happens, yeah, now we can talk about finances. Let's talk about money. I do have that coming too. That class is coming. That conversation is coming. I'm not, again, I will always tell you, I'm not the expert. I am what we call in my community the Malekio. I'm a seeker of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. And as I seek it and I learn it and I internalize it, I share it freely. But we can talk about cooperative economics. It's going to take money. With us, now watch this. And I need y'all to get this. Because this is my move. I told you next year is on. Let's just say this. We got 42 million people in America. 42 million. Social media using technology. Now, because this is, wow, here we go. Revelation, y'all. I'm sorry, ancestors are talking because I got to say it. And this goes out to my church because my community is not an exception, because we are still plagued by colonialism. We still plagued by the closed mindset, but we're fighting through it. We're not bad off, but we're not the best. You know what I'm saying? We're not as great as we could be, but we are close to doing what we should do, right? But I'm gonna give you this so maybe there might be a free mind that's listening. Ooh, here we go. Maybe there might be somebody whose spirit is open. Maybe that God is speaking and the ancestors are speaking to somebody who may be younger than me who can get this done in their time. Or maybe there's somebody my age who has the financial resources to pull it off. But I'm going to try to pull this off. Because just imagine with the technology that we're sitting on. We reach out. If it's so easy to get 3 million people to watch a TikTok, how hard is it to get the 3 million people? Now we talking about Garvey. We talking about Africa for the Africans. Garvey had 9 million. Let us say and vow to each other. Let us get 9 million people, because now we talking about the rise of the African. Oh, I'm in my zone right now. I'm sorry. Here we go. The rise 9 million. So we got 46 million. I don't even need the 46 million in the United States. Give me 1 million people in the United States. 1 million Africans, Afro-kins, not American Africans, who your American is first, but give me 1 million Africans who have a spiritual awareness, who have understanding our black reality, who is clear with the fact that we need to be self-determined, and is willing to sit down and find an institution, World of Keeper Land, that says we need an educational reform so that we can raise a generation. Get me that. 1 million people. And all I'm asking for is $1. $1. You give me $1 a week, and I'm trying to explain this to my institution. Maybe somebody from my church community is listening. $1 a week from 1 million people. Because the social media allows us to connect globally, not just in our city, not just in our country, globally. $1. What can't you build with $1 from 1 million people a week? That's cooperative economics. Especially when you put the education unto God first. If you don't know who you are in God, it don't matter how much money you got. You're always destined to fail. Why? Because you're not doing it from a divine self. You're doing it, my beloved, from a tainted mindset that comes from either the mark of slavery or colonialism. This is why it's hard for us to pull our money together. because that mark of slavery keeps us from believing that this can work. Because you can't put the money in it until they're free. So we need to build that institution first and raise that generation. We have a saying, let a Kiba land rise and let the black nation live. It's in our children. Because some of us are too lost and too late. Cooperative economics. So now as we go into Christmas, and for us, it is acknowledging the God within, the birth of your awareness of the God within. That's what we're looking for. I'm not celebrating somebody 2,000 years ago that was not even born on December 25th. No, I'm celebrating the hope that the Spirit of God is born anew in each generation that is still here and the generations that are come, so that we can come together as a people. Now that's a Kwanzaa. That's a Christmas flowing into a Kwanzaa. And so maybe if you can understand the Africa for the Africans is an eternal experience, and then it will become a global one where we can walk anywhere with our heads up as a people. Maybe then, as much as you celebrate your Christian holiday, the Christian holiday, because it's mine too. Let me say yours, it's mine too. I'm a Christian. As much as we celebrate our holiday season, we can celebrate Kwanzaa just as much, where it embodies our culture, our ancestors, that ancient wisdom that made us a people. And we can have just as much fervor for it. And if you've never been to a Kwanzaa celebration, find one this year. The sad part about our situation is I don't know if we having one. Right. That's how technology hit us this year. And I'm like, wait, well, we're going to have a sermon come Sunday, the first day of Kwanzaa. I don't know what's happening Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. That might be my journey. Because I've never put on a Kwanzaa celebration, because I always never wanted to step on the toes of individuals in the community who have been built to produce it every year. I'm going to make calls when this is over to see who's producing it, who's doing something. If not, I will have an observance. I'll say that. I'll try to rush to get that done. But when we have that, you see how I put World of Akiva in the mind of the silhouette of the black person? When we have that red, black, and green, that spiritual reformation, where we can see our black reality clearly, and we understand that we have to be self-determined as a people, so that we can live according to where God has called us, building for ourselves that infrastructure needed, reforming our education so it reflects our faith in God, in our culture, in our people, and in ourselves. Come on. That's what World of Akiba is all about. Then we can put our money where our mouth is, because we know where our money going, God is showing up. And now we can take Kwanzaa to a next level. And Kwanzaa is not just like Christmas. It's not something that's supposed to be once a year. Just like Black History Month, not supposed to be once a year. It's an everyday thing in African spirituality. We do these things because they keep us from having to. If you lived a certain way every day of your life, you know what type of people you would be. You know what power you would walk in. You know what level of enlightenment you would walk in. If you could do that, be amazing. So they give it to us in spurts. Once a part of this, and you get this year, you get that way. Why? Because we don't need to see how well you can glow in the sight of God, because that's going to keep you from being subservient to another people. Doesn't happen. Let us tap into the power of God. Let's find out who we are. Africa for the Africans comes internal first. And then it becomes a geological experience. That I would love to see happen. Because once that happens, you will definitely have a rise of the African all over the planet. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I live for. Hopefully, I can get you to do the same. One love.